got a story to tell that has lots of details. It's confusing. I'm still confused. I still don't know what the right answer is, or what happened is maybe odd or unusual, but here goes. Okay, in the last couple of years, I've been going to the same dentist for probably 3 years. I had gone to her years ago, and we quit going to her because she always had a huge staff turnover where almost everybody is new, and the front office made some mistakes in billing. They tried to charge me more for a crown, and I did pay it, but I did wonder why. We had settled the bill, and they told me I owed more money. When I tried to say I don't, they tried to act like I was trying to rip them off or something. So I paid it, and then turns out I didn't owe more money, and they refunded it, and I had an HSA, so they had to refund it to the HSA, and it was complicated. So we were kind of turned off by that. And also, I believe that crown that it took the visit, it was incredibly long and tedious. And when the crown came in, she didn't like it. She sent it back to the lab, and I had to go in for another visit. And I know this dentist personally, as I've taught her kids. I substitute taught in quite a few schools, and I knew her kids, and I knew her personally, and I knew she tends to pinch pennies. So at the time, I wondered about what lab she is using. And now I want to say that I'm not trying to ruin her business or anything. I don't like when people go online and trash a business. I'm not going to give her name, her business name, her location, or anything, because I know what it means to have to feed your family, especially in today's environment. I'm not trying to get her in trouble. I'm just very confused about the whole thing, and I want to know if things like this ever happen to you. But after the multiple visits and her taking so incredibly long with that crown, I mean, I was like dizzy when I got out of the chair because I was there so many hours. And she has mentioned through the years she doesn't like working on my mouth because I have TMJ, so it's hard to open very wide. So when she comes in with I'm an empath. I learned this year I'm an empath. That means I've always known I could pick up on people's feelings just by sitting next to them. I could get a sense of what their mood is. And when she would come into the room, and she didn't even have to say anything, but I could see on her face that she was frustrated and kind of mad at me that I couldn't open my mouth. So that would make me tighten it more, because I would get upset that, I mean, I try to be a good patient, and I am a good patient, but that's not really in my control. But she made it known that she did not like working on my mouth. So I think that crown took very long because my mouth is so small. So anyway, after the billing error, we did leave her practice and find a different dentist. And then we recently went back to her about 3 years ago. Well, I had told her one day Steve hopes to retire, and she told me I have cracks in 5 of my teeth. And so I said, well, one day Steve hopes to retire. And she didn't push for me to get crowns. I don't know if she didn't want to work on my teeth or what, because normally they push for every dollar. So I said, Steve hopes to retire. We want to get these crowns taken care of soon. So a year ago, I did 3 crowns. Right here, 3 teeth in a row. Well, she had a new guy. She always has new people, and I really like this guy. He was able to handle my mouth with ease, and he did the bulk of the work. He gave me the temporaries together. When I went to get the permanent, he couldn't get them out because it was 3 together, and she had to get them out, and they seemed to be okay, except I did tell her they felt like they were too high, and she said, well, it'll settle down. She wasn't willing to file it down. I mean, she filed it down a little bit. When I said they're still too high, she didn't listen. She said, I'll settle down, sent me home. And I just dealt with it. Then I went back 6 months later to get 2 more crowns. And one of those crowns, the temporary, fell out when I was eating. And I saw just a little piece of it on my plate. And I said to Steve, is this crown still here? Because here's a piece of it. And he said, oh, it's still there. And I just thought it chipped. Well, they told me not to floss, so I didn't floss, and I didn't look in my mouth. I think it was pretty far back, and I don't remember. I just know when I did a video that time that when I smiled, it looked like I was missing a tooth, so I suspected it fell out, but soon enough I went back, and when I went back, she said it had fallen out, so I ate it. I ate it because I did not have the crown when it fell out, and I swallowed it with my food. Okay, so here it is, a year after the original 3 crowns, and I went to floss my teeth last week, and one of the crowns fell out. Well, of course, it had to be a Friday. She's not open on Friday. Most dentists are not open on Friday. So I went to a dentist close to home, and I've never seen them before. I asked him before I went. We dropped dental insurance after Steve lost his job, thinking we could go a couple of months without dental insurance. After all this dental work, thousands of dollars, we thought, well, nothing's going to happen. We'll get it again in January because he got a new job, and we wanted to save a couple of dollars. You know, we had invested thousands of dollars. I'm like, nothing could happen. I don't need any work. I have most of my teeth crowned at this point. So I went to this dentist close to home, and I said, how much will it be? Because we don't have dental insurance. They said $249. I was like, wow, that's steep. But okay, so the dentist looked at it, and he said, does this happen all the time? I said, no, this is the first time. I mean, for that one, that was the first time. I did mention the temporary. He said, well, once it falls out, they tend to fall out, and a piece of your tooth comes with it, and they're going to be hard to, at some point, you may not be able to put it back in. But he said, it's a very small surface, and he said, is it a new crown? I said, it's a year old. And he said, well, I would go back to the dentist who gave you the crown, because $250 is a chunk of change, and it should be free. I thought so too, but I didn't want to damage my teeth over the weekend, so I was debating overpaying $250. But he said, no, you know, it should be free. Almost felt like that was the dentist code. If you did the work, you would honor the work. It's been a year. It's been just over 1 year. I spent thousands of dollars with her. I'm a ideal patient other than a small mouth. I mean, I show up on time. We pay our bills. She doesn't have a problem with the payment. And we're always there, and I'm pleasant. I can't help it that I can't open my mouth that wide. She uses those blocks and things to hold my mouth open. I do what I can do. I never complain. So anyway, he said, get it fixed on Monday. We're not open Monday. If she doesn't do it, come back Tuesday. Well, I called her office first thing Monday morning, went in, and they didn't tell me there was a charge or anything. I went and sat down, and she said it's been just over a year. So it had been more than a year. It could have been, when it fell out on Friday, that could have been a year or less than a year. It could have been like 2 days over the year. I'm not sure what day I had it done. So I'm thinking, okay, they wanted $249, and that included an emergency dental visit. So I'm thinking, a dentist I've been going to for years who did the work, it can't be more than $249. It should be free. So she blamed me. She said, are you wearing your mouth guard? And I said, yes, every night, which ironically, my mouth guard that I paid hundreds of dollars for no longer works when you get a new crown. So I wasn't willing to get a new crown in between doing the 5 crowns, so I bought one off of Amazon, which I use every night. It seems fine because it does the job. It keeps a gap. It keeps a plastic protection between your teeth, so if you grind, you're not getting teeth on teeth. It is... you're hitting the plastic guard. And I thought maybe after I got the 5, I might get a new guard. Well, she never did try to sell me a guard, which was odd. After she gave me the 5 crowns, she never tried to sell me a new guard, never said to wear my new guard. But now, after the crown fell out, she said, it's your fault. You're not wearing your guard. But I had just told her I do wear it every single night. Now, in the last year, I missed 1 night. And she told me you missed 2 or 3. And I didn't tell her that because I just know her. And she said you miss 2 or 3 a year and it causes a problem. So after I got it done, went to pay, she goes, no charge. And I said, yeah, there shouldn't be a charge because she did the work. And then she said, wait a minute, a charge came up. She goes, but wait, you have a credit of $267. I'm like, what? And when was I going to get this money back? Is this from 6 months ago or a year ago? She didn't know. But she goes, oh, and the charge came up. It's $160. I was like, well, it really should be free, but okay, I'll pay $160. And she goes, but it's covered by the $267 credit. I said, okay, well, I would like to get a check for that difference. Well, I know this dentist. I know how tight she is. I knew she was not going to give me a check back. So the next day, at that time, she messaged the manager, the office manager, and said, I don't do refunds. She'll have to do it. The next day, she texted me and said, how are you doing? Please leave us a Google review. I said, I'm doing fine. How can I get my check? And she goes, I've already messaged the office manager. And then she comes back and says, actually, and I told Steve at this point, I said, you know what? She's never going to give me a check. She's going to say the charges were more than $160. And that's what she did. the front desk clerk said, it's actually $310. You owe us $50 because you didn't have Steve had a $40 credit as well as you having a credit, but it wasn't really $267. It was blank, whatever. So you owe us $50. Seriously? I had just told Steve that I knew she was going to do that. I just knew she would never, because I know everybody's struggling. I know she's begging for new patients on her message when you call, on her when you text, everywhere it says new patients as early as this week. She has tons of openings. I know she's hurting. People don't go to the dentist when they can't afford to eat. So I was pretty upset. I was like, I could almost understand if she zeroed it out, but to say now I owe her money, I said, no way. No way am I going to pay her $50 on work she did. I mean, when it fell out, the second crown fell out, I'm thinking, did she cheap out on her cement? That was my first thought. Can you cheap out? Can you water down? Whatever. I mean, why did I have 2 crowns fall out? And then she's telling me it's from my TMJ and grinding. Well, I had Steve write a response because I was too angry, but his was even angrier than I would have written. So I had to change it a little bit. And I mentioned 2 key points. I said, 1, you've always had us sign a pre-authorization before you do work saying how much it's going to be. And then we know. And we signed saying we're agreeing to pay this amount. And that was never done. That implies to me that the work was covered. 2, if it fell out from me grinding my teeth, how come none of my other crowns that I've had for 25 years have not fallen out? I have 11 crowns. How come nothing has fallen on my mouth in 25 years? How come just your 2 that have been done in the last year have fallen out? I didn't include that part in there, but I'm thinking the only 2 that have fallen out are my 2 latest crowns. 2 of the latest 5 crowns that she did have fallen out. I'm wondering at this point if I really had cracks in my teeth. Because she didn't push for these crowns. She just said, you have cracks. And if you have cracks, you're going to get bacteria, which may lead to a root canal or lose your tooth. So at this point, I really have a lack of trust because when my temporary crown fell out, I mean, I didn't push it. I, of course, blamed me, but I had been wearing my guard and I was just eating and it wasn't even anything that hard. Of course, I avoid, gum and sticky things and hard things. I try to eat it on the other side and I don't even know what it was, but I just remember being shocked when that temporary crown had fallen out. When this one fell out with flossing, I was very shocked. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Friday morning. Falling out. So I sent her that email, taken away. Steve actually accused her of, I think he accused her of fraud. And it's actually, if it is fraud, it's elderly fraud because we are both over 60 and that is considered to be elderly fraud. That's a serious charge. I didn't want to accuse her of anything like that, but I knew we were not going to be getting a check back. The fact that she kept our money and didn't tell us, that bothered me greatly. To me, that is deceit, that is a lie, to have our money and not refund it. Did she think we're going to be getting more work? Did she think she would create more work? Well, on the one hand, I was glad that we didn't have insurance because I thought if we didn't have insurance, she would say, we cannot replace this crown. It has been damaged and you need an implant at this point. Your tooth needs to be pulled and you need to get an implant. Because when she did, I had the root canal done a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And she refused to do it because she said she won't work in my mouth. So I had to go to endodontist. I always say it wrong. I think that's what it is. And at that point, she was telling me I'm going to lose my tooth and I'm going to have to get an implant. She was very aggressive and said, your teeth will all shift. You have to get an implant. Well, it was kind of a back tooth. And I remember thinking, if it comes out, well, I talked to the front desk about implants and she said it's $4,000, a lot of pain and a high risk of infection. I don't know. I searched it as well. You have to come for multiple appointments where they first put the whatever it is. I am not a dentist. They put the base in there or whatever to see if your mouth will heal. Plus, I had a hole in my jaw. It was, I believe it was over here, and a hole in my bone in my jaw. And I remember my other sister told me, you couldn't even get an implant. If you have a hole, your bone has to hold that implant. So how would you even get an implant? But she was insistent on that and told me I'm probably losing my tooth. But thankfully, I was able to save that tooth, I think because of my overall good health. I don't drink, and we've been eating healthy, and I don't eat a lot of junk. I mean, I do eat more sugar than I should, but I don't eat a lot of processed food anymore. I changed my diet years ago. So I figured that was probably why we were able to save the tooth. But that put in my head the implant, and she's always running videos of implants. As you're sitting there waiting to be called, there's constant videos of implants and grinding your teeth. Like those are the big money makers or something, grinding your teeth and implants. So I tend to blame myself, but logically, seriously, why would no other crowns fall out? I've been grinding my teeth my entire life, and I've had crowns for 25 years. Why did only her crowns fall out? Did she go to a cheaper, more affordable lab, cheaper cement? I don't know. I don't know. She knows what she did. I sent this email, and I got no response. So I don't know if they're going to try to bill me later. But I thought it's ironic they want a Google review. I don't typically do reviews one way or other. I don't want to trash anybody's business. You won't have any way of knowing who she is or her business. I know people have to pay bills and it's tougher and tougher, but I am morally struggling with being deceived. First, from not getting the money. Second, from blaming me for it falling out. I didn't blame her for a mistake, but yet she blamed me for it falling out. I didn't say, hey, did you use cheaper cement? Did you use a cheaper lab? I did tell you it was high after you put it in my mouth, and you told me it was settled down. Did it fall out because it hits too high? I mean, any slight little thing affects, your neck. It affects everything, your bite, your neck, especially with TMJ and sleep apnea. It's major. All the things in your mouth. I don't know. I just know it affects me personally. I don't know the interconnection. It's major things. So Steve had already said months ago he didn't want to go to her. He did not like her. He actually got a root canal. She did a root canal on him after me. It was within the last year. She had no problem doing a root canal on him, but he said it's been hurting him ever since he got it done. And he's told her that, and she said, no, it's the tooth next to it that hurts, not the root canal. But it started right when he had the root canal. So I don't know. I don't know if that's poor listening skills or I don't know what that is. But I had already decided after Friday, this new dentist who wanted $249, who doesn't have his own practice. It's like, I call it a boutique dentist, but it's not fancy or anything. It's in a shopping center. It's owned by a private equity, and those are always grossly over inflated for their pricing. If he was $249 and she wanted $310 for a patient she already has, well, I'd already decided I wanted to switch to him because he had a sense of humor. 3 things. He was honest. He actually looked at me. Now, she charged $109 for a dental exam. She didn't do an exam. When I got home, I said, I wish she had checked my other crowns, my other 4, to see if they're close to falling out, because I could swallow them. So I said, I wish she had checked them. But she charged me $109 for a dental exam. She charged me for the x-ray. I understand charging, but this could be her responsibility. I think you should own up to your work. I mean, it's not like it's 5 years later or 2 years later. But this man, he had a sense of humor. He was honest. Honest is number one. Honest, sense of humor, and had no problem with my mouth. No problem. He did put the tooth in, the crown in there, saw how it fit. So for 3 reasons, I had already decided, and he's so close to home. I was like, they're cheaper. I had wondered about her prices for a little bit. The crowns seemed to be outrageous. A few years back when I got crowns, they were $300. She charges, my share was over $600. I did wonder about it, but now I see that charging $310 when they wanted $250, and his fee included an emergency visit charge in the $250, and she wanted $310 for an established patient. I don't know if she intentionally wanted me to leave the office because she doesn't like my mouth, because she seems like she really needs patience. And I would think you would want a patient who shows up on time and doesn't have a check that bounces or pays. I mean, she likes checks because you don't pay the credit card fees with checks. So she knows me. She knows I'm reliable. She knows that I don't complain. I don't make her do. And when I had that temporary crown fallout, I didn't go in. See, that was a visit I didn't go in for. She would have had to do another temporary, which costs money plus the time. I didn't go in. I just lived without a crown for like 2 weeks, I think. I think it was about 2 weeks. So I'm agonizing because like I said, I know I don't like to hurt people's livelihood. I don't know I mean, at this point, I feel like she does make some errors, but she's been a dentist for quite a few years. I've had a hard time getting a dentist. Every time we've lived in Georgia, we've had issues, and it's ironic because there's a dental college in Augusta, but we've always had issues. And also, I know this is very bizarre, but I've always heard my entire life that dentists are always the most, I don't know how to put this in words, most mentally challenged because they commit suicide or kill other people. And ironically, when we first moved to Georgia, there was a huge case of a dentist in North Georgia who had killed his wife because she was getting ready to leave him. He shot her in the head and tried to make it look like she killed herself. But then when they also found out that he had killed a co-dental student in Augusta, and he got away with it. He made hers look like suicide, got away with that, so then another, whatever it was, 10 years later, did the same thing with his wife. And then also, so that's always stuck in my head when I had her before this, that dentist, I think they kind of said because they don't talk all day, they talk to patients, but patients don't talk back. I don't know, but when I was growing up, we went to a dentist in Indiana, and that dentist ended up killing his girlfriend's new boyfriend or something like that. I just remember that being quite a scandal. So I've always heard that dentists, I don't know what the stat is, they're more likely to kill themselves or other people, and it's a bizarre stat. But I've had a problem getting good dentists in Georgia. And we've lived in a lot of other states. I don't know. Overall, I feel it's hard to find dentists. And I guess that's why we stayed with her, even though we weren't totally happy. We knew that it would be hard to get another dentist. Now, I told Steve this guy is really, I gave him a 10 so far. But another thing, that office, we used to go to that office before we went to her. And they wanted you to have 2 different appointments, one for cleaning and one for the doctor to examine you. And I thought, well, that's just a pain. Who wants to keep going? I have this fear of dentists, and to have to keep going over and over again, probably because of my TMJ, and because most dentists tell me your mouth is small and hard to work on, and that makes me feel inferior. And I tighten up more. If you don't tell me that, you talk to me, make me laugh, it relaxes my muscles, and it's easier to work on. When you tell me you hate working on my mouth, it gets a lot harder to work on. So that dentist, we left because it was the 2 visits. It was one for the dental hygiene. Well, they wanted the dentist to check you out to see if you needed a deep cleaning. And I knew I didn't, because it was around COVID time when everybody was skipping their dental visits. And so, but we did do that. We did go twice. And I just went back to my old dentist, this woman. But now the woman who was in this practice is gone. It is a man now. And I told Steve, so they have a high turnover because it's not their practice. So this man may only be here a year or 2. But we are going to try him out in January when we have our new insurance. We just need a cleaning. And also that office, that woman gave me the best cleaning in my entire life ever. And like I've said, I've had a lot of dentists, a lot of dental hygienists. She did a very thorough job. I have found that even though they say get your teeth cleaned twice a year, since I've been going to this woman who we're leaving, and she's had different hygienists. I've seen a different woman every single time. The cleanings were always superficial. I mean, one woman I think just graduated or something. She was so incredibly slow. She was so slow. Steve and I booked our appointments back to back, and she was so slow. I think she took his time. So they didn't clean him. So he actually saw the doctor. I got the cleaning and saw the doctor. And then he had to come back for his cleaning because she was that slow. And it's always very superficial. They barely touched my teeth. And I don't know if it's because they say I'm doing a great job of cleaning. Because the last one did tell me, she said, you're doing a great job of cleaning. And at the same time, she tried to sell me this mouthwash, very, very expensive mouthwash. And she said, you've got quite an investment in your crowns. You need to get this mouthwash to preserve your crowns. And I really don't know how that mouthwash is going to preserve my investment. It's what she said. This mouthwash will preserve your investment. I don't really know what she meant. I think she might have said you could get cavities in between the crowns. I haven't had a cavity in probably 20 or 30 years. So cavities aren't an issue. But back to cleaning. Since I've been having all these dental issues, I make, our daughter gave us, I made a video on my favorite gift. She gave us an electric toothbrush. Absolute favorite, great for older people, especially with arthritis or maybe TMJ where you can't open your mouth. The electric toothbrush cleans real well. Then Steve buys floss. It's little pick floss, not the one you pull, because again, you can't get back there with that, but the little picks are easy to get back. And then I rinse with a mouthwash that also has hydrogen peroxide. And then we have a water pick that I use a couple times a week, but now I'm using that more often. So I'm making an extra effort. Plus, I only drink water or decaf coffee, so I don't drink any soft drinks or lemonade or anything with sugar. And I eat healthy. I do eat more sugar than I should, but overall, I mean, the last woman said my teeth were just really great, and they barely spend any time cleaning them. So I don't know if there's nothing really to clean. I mean, so it kind of makes me wonder why you need a cleaning twice a year if you really spend a lot of time at home. If you spend a lot of time and effort at home, I think it's probably better than a superficial cleaning at the dentist's office, right? So, one last thing, Steve said I do brush my tongue as well. Steve said he is going to buy me a tongue scraper for a present. He uses one, and that's supposed to help get the bacteria off. So, I have all my original teeth. So glad about that, because I don't like blaming people. I don't like blaming other people for things, but my parents did not teach me to take care of my teeth. They did not give me new toothbrushes, and they didn't take me to the dentist. So I had quite a few cavities from that neglect, and a child doesn't know. A child doesn't know to brush your teeth twice a day, or brush them for 2 minutes at a time, or I mean, we didn't even have floss. I didn't even floss until, I don't know when, 10 or 20 years ago. They never even talked about floss. And somebody else said that in a video who's a little older than me. She said, when did floss come around? We were never told to floss. I don't know when it was really stressed, but maybe wealthier families had floss. I don't know, but I make an extra effort to floss now. I stress for my grandson to have good teeth. I did take my kids to the dentist twice a year, have them cleaned. I did give them toothbrushes all the time, and stress brushing. I never gave candy for Halloween, Christmas, or any of the holidays, or Easter, but they got it from school. They got enough candy from school, neighbors, and family to make up. But I never gave Halloween candy. I gave prizes, toys, books, and then pretzels if I didn't have anything like that to give. But I never would buy candy because I didn't want to be left with that candy and eating all that candy, because I am a sugar addict. So, you tell me, should the dentist have not charged me, or should she have charged me for this visit? I believe, and of course you know my opinion, but if she wanted to keep a good patient, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. She had me in the hand, and she knew I'm reliable and my checks don't bounce. But yet she wanted, or gave the impression she didn't value me as a patient. And Steve, she lost two patients over what? I don't know. How do you look at it? $50, $310. I mean, if she didn't do that, I would have probably asked for the check for. It was over $300 with Steve's 40. So I don't know if she's not able to pay her bills. It just feels like a fraudulent practice. We were ripped off by our electrician recently, who charged us way too much to replace some bulbs and took the bulbs home. And then Steve told me those bulbs were so expensive. I mean, off the chart in expense. I don't remember what they were, but he stole our bulbs. Stole them. Didn't even offer. I mean, I didn't realize he was taking them home. And Steve got home from work and said, where are our bulbs? I said, he took them with him. And he's like, you know what those bulbs cost? They were the most expensive bulbs you could buy anywhere. They were really good bulbs. So I feel that, I know our country's a capitalist country, but seriously, do you have to rip off people to make money? That's just not cool. Not cool at all. So let me know what you think. Should I have paid Do you have a problem finding a good dentist? It seems to be such an issue with us. And I've probably had, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many different dentists we've gone to with all of our moves. Maybe 20. So I have a comparison. But I don't know. I haven't been able to really find a really great dentist. Of course, my brother-in-law told me I'm controlling and demanding. So maybe I want them to do a good job. I don't want my crowns to fall out. Is that demanding? Is that demanding? I mean, that's scary. What if I swallowed it? Then it would have been like $2,000 to get a new crown. If I had swallowed that crown, I don't think that's too demanding. So you let me know. Check out some other videos. The descriptions are in the link, and the links are in the description. And if you like this video, please subscribe, hit notifications, and thumbs up. And until we see you again, take it easy.